Hey guys, so what I have here is my 1996 Honda Accord. I bought the car not too long ago, probably a little more than a month ago, and I decided maybe I should start documenting some of the things that I do to it. I have big plans for this car. It's my first manual vehicle, first Honda. First anything that's not a truck. I drive a Chevy Silverado, and that was kind of getting a little old to me. I still love it, but I needed something new to mess around with, so I bought this car here, and I'm going to take you guys along with me while I do some modifications. So here's that truck that I was talking about earlier. I still drive it. Right now I've been neglecting it, but still pretty clean. Wheels need some love, but I'm trying to fix my taillight right now. I made custom taillights for it, but one of them went out, of course, unreliable. There's the Brothers Tahoe. We've done quite a bit of work on that too. And there's the mailman's car that I'm working on probably pretty soon. I'm going to do rear brakes on it, I think, for him. What I'm going to attempt to do today and tonight are a couple things, but this distributor right here, I believe, is leaking oil. You may or may not be able to see down in there, but there's oil leaking, and I want to try and fix that oil leak because it's messing up the driveway and I don't want to have to worry about oil leaking out on me. So I'm gonna try to address that distributor seal in there. I gotta be careful to not mess up the alignment of the distributor because then my timing will be off, and I don't have a timing light, so I have to make sure that we get that correct. And I also want to install this sensor for my oil pressure gauge because I recently put gauges in the car. I have plans to turbo the car at some point, but right there is an air-fuel ratio on the top. Middle one is my boost gauge. Obviously no boost yet, but it reads inches of vacuum as well. And on the bottom is an oil pressure gauge, which I've yet to hook up the oil pressure gauge because it involves removing the oil filter. You remove the factory oil pressure sender, which reads out to the ECU to tell the ECU about what the oil pressure is of the car, but I want to see it on my gauge, but I also want the ECU to know the pressure. So you wire or you screw a T-fitting into it that allows you to plug two things into that same switch where the oil is going to pressurize and give you a reading on your gauge and to your ECU. So I'd like to do both of those things either tonight and tomorrow morning. We'll see if we can get it done. I went ahead and took a die grinder to the top of the distributor. And you guys can probably see it right there. But basically, that mark that I put on there should allow me to align the distributor back with the ear once I'm all done. And I shouldn't have my timing out of adjustment. I might put a couple of Sharpie lines on it too, just so that I don't mess it up. But I think that that die grinder line is going to be pretty definitive. So now I'm going to try to take the distributor off, and we'll see what it looks like for seal on there. So I've already gone and loosened the front two bolts that are visible here. I believe there's a third bolt on the underside. I guess I'll have to wait and see. These bolts are hot. And here's that last bolt down here. This is a wobble drive extension. They're annoying because they wiggle around on you. Hopefully I can find that bolt. And our distributor should come right off with a little bit of oil spillage. But yeah, it looks like there's a harness I'm going to have to take off here, so maybe a little bit premature on yanking the distributor out. But I'll go ahead and yank that harness off, and then we can see what it looks like in there. Alright, so I got something to take off this harness here, hopefully. Oh, that's going to be a fun screw to find. But yeah, it looks like that harness is off, and we can unplug these clips here. Wire harness. We can just leave it on, I guess. Alright. So now our distributor's out. We got some room here. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like you could only be off 180 degrees because you see the two prongs on here. It's kind of warm, so I'm trying to shift my grip. Those two prongs on there show you that you could have it one of two ways if this was spun, but we're going to leave it where it is. Hopefully you can see in there, but I'm just going to clean off this surface here of all of the nasty old oil that's been leaking out. It definitely looks as though there's been an oil leak here, which, like I said, is what I'm trying to remedy, but I will show you over here on the distributor itself. You can see there's all sorts of oil stains all around, and there should be no oil here at this point in time. The oil is leaking from here. There's an O-ring and there's a seal, and so we're going to need to fix that. So what I've got here now is the distributor, and you'll notice it's out of the car because I've realized the seal that we need to change is an internal seal. So I have to take this apart to actually change the seal. It's going to be inside of this here distributor. So there's already there's a set screw in the rotor here, which I've already taken off, and so this will just come off like that. Put that aside with the set screw, and this guy will just come off like that. And now there's 3 screws that are going to allow me to get to our seal in there. So the shaft's got to come out, so that shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully. I jumped ahead a bit here, and I took, there's this ring that goes around this guy right here, and then there's a couple of washers on the back, be careful with those. And then I took that all off of here, and then after undoing those 3 screws, tapped on this guy, and he came right out. And so now you can see in here, that is where our oil is leaking. Let me try to bring it up nice and close here. But yeah, that's the issue we're having. That oil is leaking right out of that seal there. What I just did here was, after I got it all apart, I came in, and this is our old seal. You can see all the chunks are all broken apart. I'll get a close-up on that after. But that's the old seal. It's rock solid. Like it's certainly seen better days. So looking right here, what I did was I took this flat blade screwdriver and I found the lip on the inside, and I just kept hitting it like this and going all the way around. Careful not to damage this surface here, because that's, you know, where the shaft of the distributor is going to ride. So if you look in there, that's where our seal used to be. I'm going to get to cleaning all this out so we have a nice new sealing surface for that seal, and then I'll show you how to put it in. The kit came with 2 seals, so we're going to see which one fits. I'm going to measure the diameter of this seal right here. I think it's still intact enough for me to measure it, and then we'll find out which of these seals is the one that's going to go in. So I got my 2 new seals here, as I mentioned, and this is the O-ring that I just found out is this guy right here. Hopefully you can see that, but I was just taking a pic to this to see, and turns out this is in fact the O-ring, but it is also pretty messed up. That doesn't really seem like an O-ring anymore to me. It just breaks. So O-ring needed to be replaced, and so did this seal. So we're on the right track here to fixing my oil leak. The way I plan to install this new seal, I found out that it's this one. I used my micrometer here. The batteries are dead, but I still hold the size to compare 2 things. So I'm going to put this guy in here like this. Try to get it as even as possible to start. Just my fingers. And then best way to do this is find a socket. Fits the outside of your seal. And then just tap it in. I grab a hammer here. You don't need anything crazy. You just want to gently tap your seal in. Make sure that you're staying straight while you're doing it. You don't want to get crooked on it, like I did there. Yeah, just want to make sure that you're bottomed out everywhere. And that looks pretty good to me. It looks like the old seal did in there. So, should have better luck with that sealing than the other seal. Now I'm going to begin the reassembly process here. So you can see I got my new seal in here, I've already showed you. What I'm going to do is maybe overkill, but it can't hurt if you go in here and you put a little bit of grease just on the inside of this seal here after you've put it in. I guess it'll work better with my finger, but you just put a little bit of grease in there, work it around the inside of the seal so that when you put your new so that when you go to put your shaft back in your new seal, it doesn't tear. So a little bit of grease never hurt anything, and it'll make sure that you don't tear your brand new seal when the camshaft goes to start spinning in the car. So I'm going to start reassembling this. I might clean these parts a little bit. I already went ahead and cleaned the distributor. Not crazy good, I could wire brush it, but I'm not looking to get that into it right now. So just a quick clean with some intake cleaner, and brake cleaner would work, but I don't really have any right now, so that's the next best thing. But I'm going to put it back together now, and I'll let you know any more tips that I think of when I'm doing so. So I went and jumped ahead and did a good amount of the assembly, but basically, you know, you're just going to put your little sensor here back in place. It's like a little magnet that senses every time this guy spins around. So you put that in, then this guy's got to go in your new seal that we put some grease in, and then this guy sort of neatly fits inside of here, and then you put your 3 screws in, and these guys back in as well. Make sure you tuck this guy in first and put on your seal on the outside. And now I should have paid more attention, because when you take this guy off right here, there's just a pin that runs through here. After you take the clip off that goes around, there's a pin that runs through. So this piece can be this way or this way. It could be 180. Remember I was saying we can only be 180 off? Well, I didn't really keep track. So I made a line here with this, but this could be put on this way or the other way. So I could be 180 off right now. I hope I'm not. If I am, the car won't start and I'll have to take it back off. And then I'll have to put it, I'll spin it 180 and then I'll put it on the car and it should be fine. But hopefully I'm lucky today. We'll see. So here's our new O-ring. This is where I pulled the old one off. So I'm just going to get a little bit of grease and give our O-ring nice bit of grease. I got a little too much here. Let's see. I'll clean myself off. Hopefully the fan's not too loud in the background, but yeah, so now I'm going to just put this guy on here, have our new O-ring, and that should seal nicely. Grease on there is good because when we go to put it in the slot, we won't have any resistance. We don't want to cut our O-ring on anything on the way in. I mean, all this stuff's overkill, but attention to detail is what matters sometimes. So, all set there. We are just about ready to put our cap and rotor back on. So here's this guy. He just sits on there like that, and then our rotor goes something like, interesting. Okay, so let's try that. I think the reason I had it turned that way is so that I could get the set screw in. So I'm going to put that in now. Okay, that's nice and tight now. Cover seated correctly, still has a little bit of oil on it, so I'm going to give that a little wipe down. If you look here, you can see sort of the aftermath of all the leaking oil. It's pretty nasty down here, and there's these sensors down here. This one up front, right here, is the coolant temperature sender for the gauge on the inside of your car. I thought that might have been faulty, but I think that the gauge just reads a quarter of the way up on these Accords, because it seems to be there consistently. I never have any problems with the car overheating, so I assume that the gauge works as designed. This guy right here is the engine temperature sensor. That's the one that goes to the ECU, so it reports the coolant temperature to the ECU and relays that to the ECU. I've said ECU like 3 times now, but yeah, so that's what that one does. And I actually have that sensor because I bought it thinking that it was this one, but it's not this one and it's that one. So since I have the sensor, I might as well change it. I can't hurt. So I'm going to try to unplug that. Change the sensor. Might leak out a little bit of coolant in the process, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to clean up a little bit so I'll be able to tell if this new distributor seal leaks. So I'll be able to see if I fix my leak if I clean it up. So right now I've got my engine coolant temperature sensor in hand. I'm ready to change it out. My goal is going to be to try to do a quick swap because I think that a bit of coolant might leak out here. So I'm going to try to do my best to swap the other one in quickly. Sorry if you can't see here. And a little bit of coolant's coming out. See if I can get the new one started. And I did, so we did not lose that much coolant. You can see in there, the new one's installed. Here's the old one. Looks pretty nasty. Not that that's going to make it not work, but it looks pretty gross. Can't hurt to change a sensor. Some people say, don't fix what isn't broken, but you know what? This car is 22 years old, so who knows? If it's not broken today, it might be broken tomorrow, so it's always good to change. The engine coolant temperature sensor is an important part. So, tight, not too tight, should be all set. plug my connector back in here after I give it a little clean. But any sensor that sits there soaked in oil, even just something as simple as this, you know, I want to change it. It's right underneath this distributor. So I think I got to do a 180 with this. So real quick, camera's about to die. I just got everything installed, and we are going to see if we are 180 on or 180 off. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and start it. Seems like we might be 180 off. Yep, that sounds like a problem. Alright, so we swapped the distributor, we flipped it 180, and I guess we're going to see if it fires up this time. Go ahead. That's that. Alright, got her going. We had a 50-50 shot, and I messed it up like usual, so that's cool though. Got to learn. A little late for that, but that's okay. Sounds pretty good. I'm excited. Hopefully no more leaks.